What are unsuspecting symptoms? That's what we're going to find out this evening. Welcome to Nature's Mysteries Medicine Show, episode 57. And this episode, we're going to be discussing dairy allergies in our Unsuspecting Symptoms series for the month of July. I'm Michele Wildflower. I am the founder and alchemist for Nature's Mysteries Apothecary, also the director of education at our school, Nature's Mysteries Academy of Holistic Health. And, excuse me, today, like I said, we wanted to go over some of the symptoms that people might be experiencing and not necessarily know what they're a result of. I talked a lot about this in my book, Discover the Essence of Plant Medicine, the 5 Principles of Life-Saving Herbs. And that's actually in the 8th chapter where we talked about herbs for children and some of the symptoms that they might experience. And that's this book. My book is the actual course book for the herbal course and our 12-week holistic health practitioner program. And we're accredited with the American Association of Drugless Practitioners. So upon completion of our 12-week holistic health practitioner program, you can apply to them to become a board certified holistic health practitioner. How awesome would that be for you? And we have great news. Vermont residents are eligible for full tuition assistance through VSAC.org, which is Vermont Student Assistance Corporation, with their advancement grant programs. These grants are given out on a first come, first served basis. So if this is something you're interested in, you should go to VSAC.org today and get your advancement grant in so that you can reserve your space in our program. And if helping others if helping others feel better is something that calls to you, then we would love to have you join us. Okay, so for today's episode, what does that mean, unsuspecting symptoms? So maybe you've been experiencing issues with your body that you don't even recognize as being a symptom or a condition or symptom of an imbalance. And some people just think that it's part of life and, don't even really see it as being an imbalance that it is. So maybe you've been to the doctor before, maybe they've prescribed a medication for you that didn't work, maybe they prescribed another one that didn't work, maybe they told you it's all in your head, maybe they told you they can't help you and, it's just some kind of mystery symptom or something. But many symptoms and conditions that folks suffer from are actually a direct result of an allergy or a nutritional deficiency that our body is experiencing, among many other possibilities that it could result from. And today, what I wanted to talk about was dairy allergies. Many doctors actually recommend that children do not consume dairy before the age of 2, and many experts suggest that children and adults who suffer from dairy allergies were given dairy before the age of 2, and that was the result. And I actually saw this with my 3 girls. I don't know if you're familiar with my background, but I actually have 4 daughters, and 3 of them I had at home, and they were younger than the oldest one. And so I had 3 in 5 years, and so when the ones that were, 4 and 5 wanted to have ice cream, the one that wasn't 2 years old yet, we would allow her to have ice cream so she didn't feel left out. And she actually now is dairy free, and throughout her childhood, we actually saw symptoms of dairy allergies. Actually, at that time, we didn't recognize them as dairy allergies, but in hindsight now, I definitely know that she was experiencing allergies from the dairy that we were consuming in our diet. So, and like I said, now she's dairy free. She's not vegan, she's not vegetarian, she's just dairy free because her body does not like dairy. And honestly, the truth is the majority of people are actually lactose intolerant because we weren't made to consume cow's milk. It's not made for humans. Bovine milk fat is nowhere near appropriately composed for human babies. So there are some other options that you can use if you want to, or if you're looking for a milk substitute for your child. And I talk about those in my book, like I said, in chapter 8, that's the Herbs for Children chapter, and we go all over formulas and what are some better options than the typical formulas that are out there available to us, as well as other substitutes for cow's milk. So some of the dairy allergy symptoms include dark circles under their eyes or under your eyes, throat clearing, you know, like, I mean, I noticed that as soon as, like, because I like, my weak spot is shakes. I like to have chocolate shakes. And I actually noticed I did a show not very long ago, and before the show, I made a shake. And halfway through drinking the shake, it was time for the show. And I actually noticed that I wanted to clear my throat more than usual. And it was actually harder for me to speak because I could just feel reactions going on in my mouth from the milk. So just saying, throat clearing could be one. You know, you can kind of feel that mucus build up. A runny nose. Dairy allergies could also comprise of a runny nose. Congestion, you might feel that congestion in your chest as that mucus builds up, where you might need to cough, and it sounds like kind of, you know, like a mucusy kind of cough. Or a constant cough. You might even have like a dry constant cough. My daughter was actually always used to be clearing her throat constantly, like, and I notice when I drink dairy or a shake, I definitely notice that myself. So sometimes we feel these reactions from food or beverages that we consume, and we're just like, yeah, we just work right past it and just keep on going. But actually, many of them are a result, and it's actually like a little bit of an allergic reaction that your body's experiencing and trying to signal to you that this isn't a compound or a food that is beneficial for your body. Maybe your body's chemistry, it just doesn't get along with. And it's not like just because you're not feeling it in your gut or you don't have any stomach or intestinal problems doesn't mean that you don't have dairy allergies. Like we said, it could be dark circles or runny nose, congestion, constant cough, bloating. So it could be in your stomach or your intestines where you kind of feel a bloated feeling. You could experience gas. My daughter had many sinus infections, and back then I just didn't know why she was having them, or you know, really to try to trace it back like I do now. You know, it's the result of raising children that we learn. It's not like as soon as we have them, we know, right? So now I know, and that's why we have our course, so that we can pass this information on to parents so that their children don't have to suffer through these dairy allergies, kind of like mine did. I mean, we're all doing the best we can, right? And nobody would be giving something to their child if they thought that they were allergic to it. And so I didn't know, and I'm sure if you notice that your child has any of these reactions, you didn't know either. And so there's always time to make changes, and there's nothing bad to feel bad about because we're all just doing the best we can, right? Okay, good. So postnasal drip, that could be another one. Diarrhea, ear infections could also be a symptom of a dairy allergy. And I wonder how many of you have seen this with your children or have experienced this yourself. And like I said, most of my students always comment on this part of the book that they've definitely seen this either with themselves or with their families, and they just didn't know that these were symptoms of dairy allergies. How about you? Did you know that? So it's a bummer, isn't it, when we're the ones that are literally making ourselves sick and we're not aware of it. And if you're not someone who's, like I said, stomach gets upset, then you might not be aware that what you're experiencing is a symptom of an allergy from something that you're eating. But like we said, they're not always intestinal. And there's so many choices that we're making in our lives every day that are either making us feel better or worse. And that's why at Nature's Mysteries Academy of Holistic Health, we're learning way more than just herbal preparations. So our students have about 6 chapters that they go through before we even get to the plant profiles. And they need to make sure that they lock down this other information all about holistic health, like I said, before we even get to the part where they're learning about herbal preparations. Sometimes patients don't even need any kind of herbal remedy. They just literally need to remove what's hindering their bodies from functioning at its optimum level. And if you're interested in learning more about healing people, different kinds of imbalances, and about herbal preparations, then you should sign up for our 12-week Holistic Health Practitioner program. Enrollment is now open at naturesmysteries.com. And like I said, Vermont residents can apply to VSAC for an advancement grant and receive full tuition assistance. How cool is that? So if you're someone who's been wanting to change your future or just have some kind of different career path, if you're interested in plant medicine and helping other people feel better, we would love to have you join us. There's also an extra optional business class. So we're going over a little bit about how to get your practice started and good business practices, things like that. So if that's an optional, if you want, it's just a little extra. If you'd like to sign up now, that's included in there. And like I said, at the end of the 12 weeks, you could apply to the American Association of Drugless Practitioners to become a board certified holistic health practitioner. So it's definitely something that could be life-changing for you and your family and the way that people look at you. And especially if you're someone who knows about herbs now, or you already have some kind of business that's associated with that, that board certification could just be the extra credential that you need to really be taken seriously and prove that you do know everything that you've been studying for all these years, right? So we're halfway through our summer session now. Our fall session begins September 12th. And in this program, we're profiling 33 different herbs. We go over growing, harvesting, storing, preparing, applying. There's over 150 recipes included in the course. We have scholarships available and payment plan options if you're not a Vermont resident and you're not eligible for that full tuition assistance through the advancement grants. You can go to naturesmysteries.com and apply for one of our scholarships, or like I said, a payment plan option. If anyone wants to hop on a call and ask any questions, we can set up an appointment. I always love talking about plant medicine, as you can tell probably. And we'd love to have you join us. So if you go to naturesmysteries.com, you can turn your passion into your profession. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, learning about dairy allergies on our Unsuspecting Symptoms series. And on our next episode, we'll be learning about iodine deficiencies and what those can look like and how they might show up as imbalances. Okay, thank you so much for discovering the essence of plant medicine. Take care. Happy 4th of July.